Hello everyone, it's Laura here. Hold on, I'll get open the chat. Let's see. Here we go. Hello, and change it to live chat. Alright, hi guys. So, I have a little bit of time. I'm waiting for a client to get back to me. And I don't really have enough time to like start a whole new thing. So I thought I would just take a little bit of time, maybe like an hour or so. Hello, let's see. Hi, Susie. Hi, Emily. Hi, Shannon and Christina. Hey, guys. So I have here, a lot of people have been asking me lately about watercolor. And I don't do a whole lot of it on my channel only because I'm kind of spoiled for paper. The books that we have aren't really ideal for watercoloring. But I have here this cheap Canson XL watercolor paper. The only thing that I require when I'm playing with watercolor is that it be 140 pound. This is decent. There's also there's a paper called the B paper, which is also fairly decent. And I'll actually, hold on. I'm sorry, I wasn't really prepared. Hi, Abby. Oh, Susie, we're just going to play around. I want to show you guys some beginner watercolor techniques and also just sort of play around and have some fun. So, but hold on. In my Amazon thingy-majiggy, I should have had this prepared, but I'm really just jumping on, not planned. Just going. Where is it? Ugh. So I already have a list prepared of beginner watercolor gear. So you can see that, and this is stuff that I've actually used, and I love all of the products in this. Even though they're beginner, I consider them beginner watercolor. I use this stuff even to this day. So I just recommended it because it's less expensive than the more pricey stuff. So you can find all of the materials as far as paper and some of the brushes I'm using in that list there. And then I do have the Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolor set, but today I'm going to use my field watercolors because I rarely ever use them in my studio, and I just wanted to play with them, not, while I'm outside being dirty. Let's see here. Hi, Jo Beth. Hi, Cassandra. Hi, Mike. Who else? Did I miss anybody? Hi, Jody. I think I got everybody. Okay. So today, I just wanted to cover the very, very basics because people have been asking me about watercolor, and I feel like some of my videos are like maybe too advanced for people who just want to get started. So I have here fairly cheap paper. Don't buy expensive paper if you're just playing around. As long as it's 140 pound, totally fine. These watercolors here are a mix of different brands, basically whatever colors I like. But what I do is I have this little set. It's like a little tin that I bought online, and I just put all of my pans in there. Some of these are handmade watercolors. Some of them are from tubes. Some of them are from the Cotman watercolor set, like the cheapy student brand. But what I do is I just swatch the back. So I just taped this little swatch sheet. I put it in a plastic bag, and I just taped it to the back. And this allows me to see my color palette. If I change one of these little things out, I just make a quick little swatch sheet, and you can see the arrangement corresponds to how they are. So that's a really easy way to know what colors you have, even if you have a little set like this. So I'm going to just play around with this little set, and if you guys want to know a specific color, let me know, but really this is like, I think this is all sorts of brands. So we're just going to start, let's see, I'll do a really dark color. The first thing I want to do is dry on wets. There's a lot of different watercolor techniques out there, and I'm just going to show you a couple of them. So what I like to do is I like to get the pan really good and wet. And the reason why I'm zoomed out is I want you to see me playing with the watercolor palette and also with the water, so you can really get a good sense of exactly what I'm doing. So I just get this really good and wet. If they're dried out in these pans like that and not fresh from the tube, then you want to make sure that the water is really saturated with pigment. So this is a really dark blue, so it'll show up really nicely on the video, hopefully. And this is actually, I believe it's a Daniel Smith phthalo blue, I think. But I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what these are at this point. Hi, Mia. But it doesn't matter what color we're using for this particular exercise. I just want to show you brushwork and how to kind of handle the brush. So I've got the brush really loaded. I don't know if you guys can see, but it is like packed with color. So saturated. So when you're doing dry on wet, the only thing that you want to do is just make sure that you're precise with where you're putting it down. Because what's going to happen is, and I'll just do a quick line to show you. So if you do it really thick like I did, then it's going to be more opaque. The more pigment you have in ratio to the water, the more opaque it will be. So I'm just going to keep adding water to it and letting the pigment drain out, if you will, by putting it on the paper. So this is a really, really highly pigmented color. So it's going to take a while to get this down. I just kind of swished it a little, so that should help a little bit with it. So the reason why I'm doing this is I just want you to see exactly how the water works. And this is a really good exercise for water control. You can really get a good sense of exactly how much water you need for the different brightnesses of color you want, or the different values that you want. So even with, basically this is just the dirty water now, I think. Yeah, okay, that's the dirty water. So you can see that this color can get from almost, like it's like a really dark, this is, and here I'll use my grayscale value finder. This is close to, yeah, it's almost black. It's in between the darkest value and black. So these are useful if you're trying to get precise with values. Hi, Emily. I think I said that. And hi, Andrea. Nice to see you. Hi, Mia. I think I said that too. I think I'm saying hi to everybody twice. Sorry. Okay, so if you're not sure how to handle watercolor, just doing an exercise like that, really simple, really easy, but it kind of gives you a feel for how to use the watercolor. So now I'm going to go ahead and dip back into my already pre-wetted, just pure pigment here. And now we're going to try a different type. So that was just water control. That's just understanding how much water you're going to need. And if you do that over and over again, you'll really get a sense of how dark and how light the colors are going to be. You can also, if you're not sure, you can, swatch on a separate piece of scrap watercolor paper. But now I want to show you, so that's dry on wet. I mean, wet on dry, rather. So now I want to show you, actually, let me get rid of that, sorry. So now I want to show you wet and wet. So the difference is first I'm going to dip into my clean water. So I always have a dirty water and a clean water. And that allows me to do this technique. So this is called wet and wet. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put down a big puddle of water. And I don't know if you guys can even see this on camera. So let's see if you can. Here we go. I'm catching some light. So it's like a big puddle of water. Now we don't want it puddling too much, but we definitely want to have, so let's spread this out a little more. But we definitely want to have the paper be wet. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to grab the color. Oh, hi, Alana. No problem. Lurk away. I'm just doing a fun little impromptu session. I didn't plan this. So I just picked up some of that pure pigment again. And I'm just going to drop it. You can see how the water just because the paper's already wet, the color just wants to spread. It just loves moving on the paper. And different watercolor brands act a different way. Different paper responds a different way. So this is sort of a very experimental technique. I'm just going to do it again. And the drier the paper, the less it will spread. So say you have something like this. Let's do a gradient. And gradients are easier wet and wet, I feel. So now I'm going to clean off my brush completely, make sure it's really clean. And now I'm going to drop just pure water right into this already wet pigment. You can see it's kind of like diluting that. So we're going to make it lighter in the center. Let's pull some of this over here. So it's really easy to push around and change. Wet and wet is actually super forgiving if you know how to move the paint around. With watercolor, or at least with good watercolors, you can re-wet. And so like this is already starting to dry. It's really warm in my apartment. I'm just going to re-wet that a little and keep moving it around. So that's one of my favorite techniques, is wet and wet, just because I feel like it really takes advantage of the properties of watercolor. Alana, basically what I do is I just collect them over time, but I favor either, because I do a lot of landscapes in watercolor, I favor either earth tones or primary colors. So you can see here, this is the palette I'm using right now. I always make sure to have at least a couple of decent reds, a couple of yellows, and I love blue, so I tend to favor the blue palette. Whatever colors you like better, that's the colors you should pick. But in general, the basic primary colors, and depending on what you're painting, it really does change what palette I would recommend. So if you just let me know what type of work you're aiming to do, then I can more specifically answer that question. Let's see. Hi, Deb. I think I missed you. Yeah, Emily, it's about 86 right now in my at like what they say the temperature is, but it says real feel is around 92, and then my apartment is usually about 10 degrees warmer than it is outside because I'm on the 3rd floor of a three-story building. So, and I don't have air conditioning, so all the heat just comes right to me. So it's got to be at least 100 in here. So this is already almost dry. It's crazy. But we're just going to keep going. So I've showed you wet on dry and wet and wet. So now there's a couple of other techniques. I want to show you a little bit more gradients. Oh yeah, the sparkly handmade watercolor. I do have some sparkly watercolors. This set here, wait, let me pull it. This was a set I was gifted from my sister. It was used and she doesn't use it, so. But this is the Prima Marketing Metallic Accents, and it's probably a really old set, but she gifted this to me, and they're super sparkly too. But I'm not going to use those because these I know I have. So what I do is I like have tubes, and I just here, I'll show you. So the color I have now is this here. This is the Daniel Smith Phthalo Blue. And what I do is I just squeeze this out into a couple of little pans. Yeah, Loretta, I love them. It was really sweet of her. She wasn't using them. She does a lot of card making, but she switched to a different type of sparkly paint. So she's like, I'm not using these anymore if you want them. I'm like, would I ever turn down glitter? Come on. I mean, come on. So what I do is I buy these little here. So I buy whatever brand or whatever I think might work. So, and then I get these little half pans. And what I do is I stick a magnet on the bottom. I just get those magnetic strips and stick a magnet on the bottom. And then that way when I put them in my set, they're not going to fall. Well, I'm not going to tip this because it's already got water in it, but they're not going to fall out when I turn it upside down. It's really handy for traveling if you're on the go. I usually take this kit with me out in the woods when I'm painting. So, so yeah, I just prep them so that way they're ready to go and I don't have to carry my tubes with me. But you can see here, I've already squeezed out several half pans worth and I still have so much of this paint left over. So these tubes will last you forever. I mean, unless you're watercoloring every day and wasting it, like dumping paint or whatever, you're really going to have, if you buy high quality pigments especially, you're going to have those tubes for a long, long time. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, Loretta, I did all of my outside chores, like weeding the garden early. Like I woke up at 6 and just did it really early in the morning because I was like, I'm not out here in the heat during the day. I just can't take it. Okay, so you can see how this is drying. It changes as it dries. It's really cool how the water kind of pushes it around and makes all these cool things. If there's any kind of thing you don't like, what's cool is you can lift it and re-wet it. I'm going to let it dry completely and then I'll show you how to do that. But let's do some more gradients since I think that's the thing that people struggle with the most. So we're going to take 2 colors, but first let's actually do a dry and dry gradient technique. So we'll use the same color to start with. So I'm just going to do just a nice like little line of color. And then now I'm going to grab a different color. What color do I want? Let's pick something that's really dramatically different. Let's see. How about this red? This is a really cool red. And it's like earthy and that's not earthy, so hopefully you guys can really see how they're different. And then I'm just going to pick a spot where I want that color to be the deepest and end. Oh, somebody's upset. I'm telling you, when I was driving today, it's like people are crazy out there. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I got cut off twice. There was a guy with his hat. Oh, I went in my clean water. That's okay. There was a guy with his hazards parked and blocking the road. It was crazy. Okay, so this is already starting to dry, so I want to just lift up that color before it dries. It's really challenging to do this in the heat. Okay, here we go. It's re-wetting. So you can't really do this technique of re-wetting the pigment on regular, not like in a coloring book. This would be a real challenge. But you can see I just was able to reactivate that. And now I'm going to take this hard line and just, with this somewhat cleaner water, just dilute it. So this is another way. It's a little easier to control this technique. And now I'm going to mix them together. And they're just going to kind of, because now the water touches, they're going to meld together. If you want to push the paint up further, you can. This is a staining pigment, so you have to work quickly with this one. Some pigments stain and some don't. That's all stuff you just sort of have to learn over time with the... So it's not a beautiful gradient because the 2 colors really don't go well together, but I just did that to show you that you can basically gradient anything. Yeah, Mia. Let's see. Hi, May. How you doing? Yeah, Emily, central air, actually air conditioning in general is not a requirement in Pennsylvania because normally we don't see this kind of heat for this long. But, yeah, we're not looking out this year with the weather. Yeah, now I do have, so what I do is I do have a window unit sometimes that I turn on in my bedroom for Abby if she's really, really hot. But honestly, it doesn't work that well because the rest of the house is so hot that, yeah, we just handle it. We're both troopers, so. All right, so that's going to dry. We'll see what happens when that dries. You can see now as these start to dry, what happens when you use a a wet on dry technique is that it forms this sort of outer, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me zoom in for a second, just so you can really see. So it forms like this outer sort of waterline is what I call it. I don't know what the technical term is. Like, I don't know if any of these terms are actually the right terms, but it's fine. So it creates like this darker outline sort of just by the nature of it. I don't know why it does that, but it does every time. So what you want to do, say that happens and you want to get rid of it, you can just take a clean, somewhat dry brush. So here, I'll show you what I did. I clean off my brush completely, and then I pinch the excess water out. So now I've got like water on my fingers. And then I take this damp but clean brush, and then we're going to just really gently, we're not trying to re-wet the whole thing. We're just trying to lift. So I'm lifting the outer edge. And this is a really good way to, like, got something there, a piece of dust. This is a really good way to soften hard edges if you don't want something to be super duper like defined. If you want it to be softer and you put it down and it's not the way you want it. And sometimes this takes a little bit of work because this pigment is so powerful. Hold on, I'm not looking at the chat, but I will. Hold on. I just want to get this all set. So we'll see how that dries now. But at least it looks okay for right now. So I don't know if you can tell the difference between this one and this one, but like the line here, I'll do it again because these two are similar in pigment. In the value rather. I can talk today. So I wet it. Now I'm gonna just lift. So this is an almost dry brush, but it is damp. And we're just taking that color and sort of softening it. Hi, Nick and Tina. Yeah, Loretta, I ordered Spirit Animals too, and that was like months ago, and I still haven't gotten it, so I don't know. I'm just waiting patiently. Books take a long time to produce, so it'll get here. Let's see. Okay, so I think those are the major questions that people ask me is how do I soften harsh lines? How do I do wet and wet? And how do I do gradients? But let's do some more. I think I have some more time. Let me just check and make sure my client didn't call me. Nope, we're good. No missed calls. Okay, so let's zoom out again just so you guys can see how I'm going. So we've got all kinds of different stuff going on. And this isn't perfect by any means, but I'm just demonstrating for you. And then once we do some more, once we'll fill up this page. Yeah, I don't know, Loretta. I purchased it on Amazon a long time ago, like as a pre-order, but it'll get here. I'm not too worried about it. So then a lot of people ask me, like, how do I use the brush? That's another intimidating thing. So I have here a 6 round. This is a synthetic squirrel brush. It's the Princeton Neptune brand, which isn't actually super expensive for the quality of the brush. I also like these golden Taklon brushes. These are much cheaper. This is an 8 round. Both of these will work fine. The synthetic squirrel is much softer and pliable. It also holds a lot more water. So that's why I prefer this over the Taklon for this particular type of work. But that's okay. So now I just want to show you how I hold the brush. I've loaded it with a lot of pigment just so that you guys can see it easily. So these are like what I would consider brush exercises. So, you know, you have like the thick, so you press the brush down and then lift it up as you go. So let's try that again so when I'm not so. There we go. So this is something you can practice, and they don't have to be perfect. And I'm just letting the color drain out of the brush. So that type of stroke is really, really common, and let's just kind of keep going with it. So now another type of stroke that I want to do is what I just call it like the dab and pull. I don't know if that's, again, these are not technical terms, but I'm just going to dab and then pull my brush up. Dab and pull. And what this does, you want the, if you want the thicker side close to the stem, it creates like these really cute little like leafy shapes. You can also do the like the light touch and then dab and pull. Oh, I need more paint on my brush. So the light touch, dab and pull. These are all technical terms. You know that, right? So I do a very light touch and then dab and pull. And that creates a really nice leaf shape. So I'll do that again. Really light touch, then dab, and then pull. And this is a type of brush stroke that decorative painters use a lot because getting it down in one stroke is really efficient. Okay, so that one didn't turn out great. So if you need to, you can always fix it up a little bit. Let's see. Hi, Stephanie. Oh, thank you, Susie. Hi, Katrina. Did I miss anybody? Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so now, let's see, what other strokes can I show you? Oh yeah, so there's, so let's see. I'm gonna do this. So there's like other variations on this. So I'm just gonna kind of go like right over here. So I'm gonna first do a stem just so that we have something to do it on, if you know what I mean. And now I'm gonna do like a ferny type leaf. So it's gonna be an extension. It's sort of like this brush stroke, but I'm gonna actually go the opposite direction here. I'm gonna move these a little just so I don't knock anything over. Get some more water so it's not dry. All right, so we've got plenty of good paint. My brush is loaded with lots of water. So now I'm going to take just the end, and it's small at first. Now I'm going to, okay, how do I explain this? You light touch, and then pressure, and then light touch, but it's longer. So light touch, pressure, and then lift up. And we're not trying to do anything realistic here. This is just really good brush techniques, good exercise for brush control. So if it doesn't look perfect, please just don't worry about it. We're just doodling. Okay, so my brush lost water here. This is a really fun technique. This is a dry on dry brush technique. So I'm just going to demonstrate that further. The brush ran out of water, but it still has pigment in it. So you can do all kinds of cool, like I use that for water a lot because it looks like sparkly water kind of. So you can just kind of like do this and then press down and it kind of, so that's a dry on dry brush technique. Again, really, really nice. So it's like easy to get that sparkly water look really quickly. Hi, Sammy. Yeah, this is like a super requested video. So I was like, all right, let's just doodle with some watercolor and have some fun. Okay, what else can I show you guys? I really did not prepare for this at all. Do you guys have anything that you would like me to demonstrate? Thank you, Stephanie. I'm not the best, but I really love it. So we're just having fun. There's no best or better. We're all awesome. Everything. Katrina, thank you. Yes, and you don't need any help from me. Okay, let me think of what else we could do. Let's do a flower because those are really common, especially for beginning watercolor. So I'm just gonna, we're just doing mostly blue. I don't want to, I want to use up this pigment I've already put down. So there's a lot of different flower shapes, but we're just gonna do like a basic, you know, a simple flower. So what I like to do is, first I'll put down the center just so I sort of know where everything is coming from. So I'll do a center that has a bunch of dots. And we'll do a couple of these, that way we can let it dry. And I'm not being real precise. If they mesh together or whatever, that's fine. Okay, let's do one over here. Let's do one from the side. So I'm doing, instead of dots, I'm doing like dashes. Like little bumpy dashes. And it's in a half moon. Okay, and now I'm going to dilute the pigment on the brush so it's a lighter color. And I'm not going to worry if it touches these, but for this type of petal, I'm going to do like a rounded petal. So what I do is I'll just kind of like do a big circle and then work my way down, kind of like a teardrop shape. So we're going to do that again. And you can do them in different directions, that's fine. I think I put these too close together. That's going to be interesting. You can tell I didn't plan this out. And again, these are just simple techniques for beginners. If you're not sure how to start, don't put a whole lot of pressure on yourself. Just have some fun and play. Oops, see, we've got some, that's fine. I kind of like the way that looks anyway. Let's do it again. And what I love about watercolor is there's a lot of like happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. Okay, so how are we gonna do this one? I guess let's get rid of that. Hold on. So you can lift up watercolor. So what I'm gonna do is I have a clean brush and I'm just gonna first suck up. So there, it's really actually not too bad to change stuff. So now I'm pulling up, lifting, right? So what I do is I wet it, kind of tap the side of the cup until it's less water on there, and now I'm lifting it. So if you make a mistake or you don't like how something is, let's just fix it. Boop. Okay, and we've got this guy here. Not a very pretty flower. I'm not good at flowers, obviously. That's okay. Not everybody can be good at everything. We're just playing around, having fun. Okay, let's try it again. Let's do it from the side this time. So from the side, let's do like one where it's kind of like falling down a little. So let's do teardrop shapes again. I'm sorry I'm not looking at the chat. I'll just check it in a second. I like this one better, I think. Let's put some more pigment in there. But see, with practice, even if you don't know how to do something, you can figure it out. And I'm starving the brush is what they call it, I think. When you let the paint sort of run out, and that creates a lighter and lighter color. It's useful if you're trying to like push things back in space. Yeah, I like that one better. Boop. Okay. Let's see. Jody. Well, luckily this stuff isn't super expensive. I'm not using expensive paper, and it's not buckling. It's not having any issues. So it takes the watercolor really beautifully. What else can we do? Let's see, maybe some more brush strokes that you can use for a lot of different things. Let's see. I'm just trying to think of what I do when I'm... Oh, okay, so sort of a variation on this tapered thing. Let's get some brown just to... I feel like this is all too blue. So which color brown do I want? I like this one. And I'm not mixing the colors right now. We can do that in a different lesson. This is just water control and brush control. And I feel like if you break things down, if you're new to it and you're intimidated, if you break things down into different tasks, different techniques, then you're going to be a lot less intimidated and scared to try things out. So, I mean, we're just doodling. We're not going to, I mean, I'm showing this to you guys, but you don't have to show it to anybody. This is just for your own personal playtime. So now I have brown. We're going to do like a tree limb because those are, or actually let's do a whole tree. So so when I work on trees, if I want it to be really loose and kind of sketchy, I'll start at the base because I like to have it really feel like it's grounded. And at the base of a tree, it's kind of like, no, I don't want to zoom in. It's kind of like it's like a little platform, kind of like the roots fan out. And now at the trunk, we're gonna make, doesn't matter what stroke you do, we're gonna make him somewhat straight. And now as you go up the tree, you're gonna just lift the brush up so that it tapers into, and you can see, even though this is a fairly big brush, this is a great brush control exercise. If you can get it to be as small as possible, you have really good brush control. I hope you guys can see this okay. So even though my brush is huge, I'm trying to do little tiny strokes. Okay, so let's pull this down. Kind of make it a little darker. Okay, so then we've got, so this is a really fun exercise, and you're kind of actually creating something while you're practicing. So that's always nice when you can see something that's not just a bunch of marks on a paper. And with trees, the higher you go up, the smaller branches, and also more of them. So at the bottom, there's just the trunk. At the top, you got lots of little tiny branches. I guess it's winter time. I didn't draw any leaves. And now at this point, I would probably grab a smaller brush, but since this is a brush control exercise, we're not going to. So let's see how small we can do it. Just take your time. Sometimes when I need to stabilize my hand, I'll just put my pinky knuckle on the paper. Let's put another right here. And the brush is also running out of paint, but that's okay because the little branches up higher, they don't need to be as dark. I mean, they can be. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I kind of like the way they look when they're kind of less dark than the trunk. So this again is another great exercise. If it doesn't look great, don't stress about it. Really, all you're practicing is just how to get the tiniest stroke out of a big brush, because if you can do that, then you don't need a whole lot of tiny little brushes. You really only need one or two really nice rounds and you're set. So let's see here. Pickle. Yeah, but everything takes practice. So, it's not, you're not going to be great at it at first, but if you try it a couple times and, you make some mistakes and then try it again, that's why I'm not recommending expensive paper. I mean, some people are like, only get arches. I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean, I make too many mistakes for that fancy paper. But, you know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If you're an experienced artist, go ahead and buy expensive paper. But even I don't mind working on this, even though I have a lot of experience. So, a non-naked tree. Okay, let's do a smaller one because we're running out of room. Or where should I put him? Yeah, I'll do a little smaller, littler? A littler tree for littler pickle. Okay, I'll mix some colors this time just to make it a little darker too. We'll use the same color to start with. It's a great question, Pickle. Let's do it. Okay, well, Alana, I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll show you how to make the trunk more interesting. That's another really great question. So you guys are getting advanced already. We went from just doodling to now we're making stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to do a trunk. So again, just, okay, I can't do it as big, though, because I don't have as much space. So we'll do that little guy. He's a littler tree. And then at this point now, where the branches start, so you kind of want to, I think I have too much water, so that's another thing, water control. So I'm just going to take some of that out, that way the brush has less in it. And now I'm going to, let's see, I want a branch here, so I'm going to start the lower branches like that. And now, while that's drying, because we don't want to, I mean, you can mix the colors. Actually, yeah, I'll show you how to do, let me just kind of push this around until it's better. Okay, I'll show you how to put some green in. And what it's going to do is it's going to kind of mesh with that brown, but it might look really cool. So let's see. I love the Pearline green from Winsor and Newton. I believe it's this one. Let's just make sure. Yeah. This is Pearline green, so I do know some of my pigment names, but my favorite ones. So I'm going to get a nice big wet blob of this color. Oh, you're not late, Bethany. You've arrived just on time. Okay. So that's already starting to dry anyway. So now what I'm going to do, this is really fun. So this is a leaf technique that takes very little time, and you can get a pretty fantastic result. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start near the trunk, and I'm just going to put the darker color down, and I'm just sort of dabbing because this is small. So you just put little dabs. And now as we go up, since we know about starving the brush, because we did that over here, I'm not going to dip back in my paint. I'm just going to let the brush kind of like drain paint and water. Sorry, I'm concentrating. And it'll get lighter and lighter as we go up. So the darker leaves are on the bottom, and the lighter leaves are on the top, and then just dabbing. You can kind of see the more random the strokes, the better. You can kind of just do with some little dots. I hold the brush at a slight angle and not up and down, so I get more like weird shapes. So this is a lot of fun. You can do so many trees so quickly this way. All right, so I'm going over my thingamajiggy up there, but that's okay. You guys get the point. And then now once that's dry, what I'll do is I'll add some more twigs and sticks coming out of it. But while that's drying, I'm going to go back over here. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do trees, but this is a really quick and easy, stylized way. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, and I find that it works really nicely. So let's take actually that same dark, it's Pearline green, it's like a dark green, and we're going to make this more interesting. So I'm just getting some pigment, but I don't want, right now, the only brush I've used is the 6 round. I don't want to get a whole lot of water. If you can see, it's not really loaded. It's just got a little bit of pigment. Now what I'm going to do is I start at the base of the tree, and I kind of just work with the natural way that the watercolor is already going, and I'm just going to put some light lines to kind of denote like that bark texture. And I like using the green in the bark because if you think about it, the light, especially if it's on like a tree with green in it, the light is actually coming through the leaves, so it might be like a greenish light that's affecting the tree bark. And also there's things like moss, so there's a lot of ways that you can explain green in a bark. But I just like the natural color and contrast there. I wouldn't use a bright green here. This perylene green is really muted. So we're just giving some texture, and it's hard because this is a small, I'm going to load my brush up with a little bit more. It's a small trunk, but the more, obviously the bigger it is, the more details you can fit in. You could also go for a smaller brush, but I'm trying to just show you guys one brush because I really do want you to see, like, you don't need a lot of brushes to play. It's all about just if you can control it. Alright, so now I'm just going to put some grassy kind of, let's anchor this in space more. So we've got the big tree and the little tree. They're all happy together, hanging out. They're friends, as Bob Ross would say. Let's see. Hi, Heather. Okay, so now that that is mostly dry, you can see there's only a couple swatches that are still wet. Let's go in and do some little tiny twigs. So I'm just trying to get the right amount of pigment load on the brush. And again, that's something that over time you're going to just understand from playing with it. So now I'm just going in, and anywhere the gaps would show a branch, I'm just going to put that brown in there. And it just gives it, you can leave it that way too, but I just like adding those little extra touches of detail. Let's darken up that a little bit. Well, I got the sun on my back again, guys. At least this time, hopefully I'll finish before it gets to you. Okay, now I'm going to create some extra little twigs just to kind of finish it off. Maybe we have some coming out, so we'll do like that, and then little twig. Is it gonna do it? Oh. There we go. So this is just so much fun to play with. You don't have to, like, again, you don't have to make anything perfect. So yeah, does that help, Pickle? And then you can go over it with other additional, it's still not quite dry, but you can go over it with other additional greens to kind of richen it up. Same technique where you just sort of do little splotches all over the place. Let's see if I can do it even though it's a little wet still. What color? This color. So now I'm not gonna care if I'm going in the same spots or not. This just gives it a lot of color variation, and also just sort of fills it in a little more. So all this is optional. This is just one way to do it. But layering and glazing, that's one of the big, big benefits of using transparent watercolors. You don't have to nail it in the first layer. So if it doesn't look right, you can either lift it and try again, or you can just layer and layer until it looks right. So it's just like pencils that way. So a lot of people are intimidated. Now I'm putting like little dots on the outside just to kind of finish it off, make it look like, I mean, I'm not going to worry about that because, again, it's just a messy page of fun. No pressure, no worries what it looks like. We're just having a good time. Basically waiting for work to start again. Oh, man. Yeah, Alana, for a long, long time I was fussy and I only did detail and I didn't let it go. But now lately I've just learned to let the watercolors do what the watercolors want to do. If I want to get fussy and tight, then I use pencil because pencil's better for that. So I've just learned by experimenting with lots of different media that if you use the media in the way it wants to behave, then it's going to be a lot happier. So, and you're going to be a lot happier. So, you know, there's a lot of people out there that do really beautiful, very, very detailed watercolors. I'm not saying that's not possible, but me personally, I would rather pick the media that makes the most sense for that look I'm trying to achieve. So if I want really, see, that's why I mix my media a lot, because I figure, you know, if you're picking what it naturally wants to do, then you're not going to fight. You're not going to fight the media. It'll work for you, and it'll be a lot more fun. So that's why, like, some of my more recent stuff from my show is like, well, here I can show you. I have some of them right here, actually, because I just scanned them. Let's see. Where's that one? So I have like this guy. Where's the other one? I really like. Yeah, you guys have probably already seen these. Well, anyway, of course I can't find the one, but I really like. I have one that's like super loose and not detailed at all. Here it is. So you can see like her hair is just a big blob. The fish are just like a swish. So that's that small to big kind of swish that you guys saw me doing earlier with these type of work. And then this was a wet and wet. So I just wet the area that I wanted and just dropped color in, and it made all these funny little marks. And then when I was done that, then I went through and did the colored pencil. So where I wanted it to be fussy, and same with this one, like her face, I just did in colored pencil, and then some of this is Tombow marker, I think, but most of this is watercolor, like this whole outside here and the seahorse. So you guys can see, you don't have to be fussy with watercolor. You can just use it as a background. That works really great for backgrounds. You can use it as just like a base layer to then go over with pencils. So don't be intimidated if you can't get it looking exactly like how you want it, because you can layer other media on top of watercolor. Watercolor is amazing for that. So, okay, I think I've demonstrated trees, and we're kind of losing space on the paper. But, let's see. Oh, where's that other brush? I don't have it here. Oh, here's one. So another fun thing that I do with a lot of my stuff lately, I use an old toothbrush, and let's just have some fun. So I take the toothbrush, I wet it a little bit. This is actually filled with Frisket, it looks like. Hold on. Let's just clean the Frisket out of there. At least as much as I can. Yeah, okay. So another fun thing, you have an old toothbrush, don't throw it away. Next one you're about to throw away, just save it. I'm just gonna dip it in whatever color I have left over. Let's make a fun, earthy kind of greeny, browny, bluey color. Okay, so I've loaded it. You guys will see I've spatter a lot. This is how I do it. I take my finger, I have it on the brush, and I just pull back like this. So I'm gonna do it for you guys. So I drip a lot. So that's kind of a trick I don't know how to fix, but usually when I'm doing this, I'll have something, either I'll hold something under it, or I'll just put a piece of paper under the brush, because that's where it usually drips. But we're just spraying the whole, so you guys can see, really, really fun way to, and you can do this with water, on a wet wash. There's all sorts of ways that you can have fun with that. So that's another fun little quick way. You can use white acrylic paint and do stars that way. You can do it with Frisket like I do, where I put the Frisket down. It's I'm sorry, I'm old school. I call it Frisket. It's art masking fluid. So this stuff here, when you put it down, will be a resist for the watercolor. So I put this on my toothbrush and then spray it and then do a galaxy. And you guys can see I did that in my Galaxy watercolor tutorial in my channel. So that's another way that you can have fun. And this this is just a really cheap toothbrush. So once I was done using it, I didn't throw it away. Yeah, you can use an angle brush too. It's just that I don't really buy a whole lot of watercolor brushes, so I don't actually have an angle. But yeah, an angle brush, a lot of different stiff brushes will work. You just can't use the soft brushes that I have. The synthetic squirrel is too soft for the flicking motion. I find it just doesn't give the same kind of result. So, yeah, and guys, like, I'm not traditionally taught. Everything I do in watercolor is self-taught. So this may not be the best way, but it's just that so many people ask me this question that I thought I would at least start the dialogue today in the video. Awesome. Yeah, any kind of stiff brush. Like if you were to, I have some stiff brushes for acrylic painting. Yeah, this would work. Any kind of boar bristle would work. This is a really old, I think this is actually an oil painting brush, but anything with a stiff bristle will work. It's just I just use a toothbrush because I had it and I didn't want to throw it away, and I thought I would use it for my art stuff. Yep, you can use white gouache, you can use Frisket, you can use white acrylic, you can use, I have this Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof, so if you have like, you're trying to go over red pigment comes up through gouache a lot, but this here, it won't come up. It's bleed proof. So, awesome, Heather. So yeah, I'm going to take off just because it's about an hour here, and we've filled our page now with lots and lots of doodles. But I hope that this gets people started. I hope that you guys have a better... Hi, cutie. Hi. Hi. Abby wants to say hi. Hold on. She's very well trained. She knows when the water cups are on my desk, she's not allowed up. So she asked me for permission, which is really, really cute. So let's just put the paint away. Hi, cutie. I'm getting there. Hold on. You want to say hi to everybody? I did that because I got tired of cleaning watercolor off of her paws if she got into it. So I just over the years have trained her not to mess with me when I'm painting. Hi, cutie. Now it's all set. Oh, you're impatient, huh? Go. Hi. All right, let's see. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you, guys. Happy. Hi, Joey. How you guys doing? Yeah, she's a sweetheart. You're very welcome. I hope that this was useful. I know that those of sorry, she loves to rub up against the those of you who are not beginners will probably not need this, but hi. Say hi to everybody. You're a superstar, huh? Hey, cutie. Abby is gonna be 17 soon. No, on the desk. Hi, yeah, it's sunny all of a sudden. Thank you guys so much. And I'll be streaming again tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. So, yeah, she's 17 this year. We don't know exactly her birth date because she was a stray kitty, but she's estimated to be about 17 years old. And she's still pretty active and cute. Gotta love her. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. And, well, Mia, you don't have to show. Don't worry. You can catch it. Abby. You're so cute. So cute. Yeah, she's still kicking. She loves jumping and playing, and obviously she likes being part of the action. Abby has severe allergies, so that's why she's itchy. Right now there's something in there that's bothering her, but all right, guys. Anyway, I hope you have a beautiful day, beautiful, colorful day. Abby says hello and goodbye. And, oh, don't worry, Joey. You can watch it back. We're just going to catch up on the mermaid again. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a colorful day.